gonna switch it up today a little bit. We're gonna make something sweet, kind of breakfasty. We're gonna make like a blueberry cheesecake French toast. Pretty easy to make. You don't need a lot of like crazy ingredients. Take some frozen berries of your choice, add half the amount of water, and sweeten it with about a tablespoon of honey. And a pinch of salt. And I'm just gonna simmer that till like the blueberries will kind of break down, release all their juices, it'll kind of caramelize, and we'll be left with these really cooked down blueberries that has like a little blueberry syrup. Some cream cheese that I just pulled out and is like room temp. It's nice and soft. You can obviously do this too in like a stand mixer if you have a stand mixer. I don't, so I'm just gonna do it by hand. It's like you can totally do it by hand for anyone who doesn't have equipment or doesn't want to buy equipment. I'm gonna put the juice of this lemon's like not a full lemon, so maybe like half a lemon to this of juice. Now because it's French toast and every element is gonna be sweetened, I kind of don't want to make it too sweet so that it's too rich. So I would just add this stuff kind of slowly. I'll probably add a tablespoon of powdered sugar to this. Also the reason I'm using powdered sugar is it is super fine, so you don't need heat to dissolve it. If you use granulated sugar, you have to heat it up in water for it to dissolve, or it'll be super granular. I'm also going to put a little bit of vanilla extract in here. And that's it. And then so we just recreate kind of what a mixer does with a paddle attachment with a fork. So you can see like it's softer now. It's like a little bit less cheesy and more like, looks like an icing. The reason we want to make it even lighter is because if you just put cream cheese icing on French toast, for me that would be like too sweet and too rich. So we're gonna fold this into whipped cream. And if you haven't made whipped cream before, you also need a whisk and a bowl. That's it. We're gonna do it the old-fashioned way. Again, if you have a stand mixer, you can use a stand mixer. But there's something satisfying about making whipped cream. Honestly, it's not satisfying. It makes your arm really tired and it sucks, but it's nice. Add a little bit of vanilla to this as well. We're also gonna sweeten this a little bit. Probably go with a tablespoon. Get comfy and start whipping. Okay, so this is the cream cheese that we whipped with the lemon that we sweetened and added vanilla to. And we're just adding this to the whipped cream, and we're gonna, because we whipped the cream cheese, you'll find it'll come together pretty nice in the cream. If you try and whip this like together instead of separately, you'll end up with like chunks of cheese.
And we're back to whipping.
Okay, so this is done. It's like nice, stiff, everything's blended. There's no little like chunks of cheese, it's all one cream. I have a piping bag. You obviously don't have to do this. We just want to get a good photo, so I'm gonna try and make it look pretty with a piping bag. But if you, like when we make the French toast, you can just honestly spread it on with a spoon. And if you bought the wrong tip size like me, you can just tape it on. It'll be fine.
There's no way this won't work, right?
Yeah, it works. Dude, of course it works. Look at this.
Holy.
Or like, people normally like to use really rich, soft breads, and which is totally fine. I just find that, and there's like a time and a place where I love like a stack of cheap bread that's like barely, the eggs are barely cooked, and like that tastes good with maple syrup and butter. But since we're gonna put a bunch of like kind of wet stuff on this, I'm gonna use sourdough. Obviously I love sourdough. And I'm gonna cut it like a little bit thicker so that's a little more sturdy of a French toast. It's not this like flimsy, soggy mess. I want it to be like have some structure. All the same things we're gonna put in the batter or things we're putting in the rest of the dish. So because we're only making one, we only need an egg. You can use whole milk, skim milk, 1% milk. It doesn't really matter. I have cream because we're making the cream, so I'm gonna make it full flavored and go with heavy cream. You want about, I'm gonna say half and half for the ratio I like, but you can't really, I mean, you get too much liquid, but you can't really mess it up. Vanilla, of course, and then most recipes don't sweeten this part because they usually drown it in syrup, but we're not gonna put any syrup on ours. So we're gonna sweeten this a little bit so the bread gets a little bit sweet. And beat this together. The cream. Okay, once it's all like uniform, and there's no like, you can't see any little individual pieces of egg white or anything, then you're good to go. So I got a little bit of oil that's preheated. I put a little bit of oil so that the butter doesn't burn, but you want to cook it mostly in butter. I got our bread in our dredge, and you just want to really soak it. Make sure it soaks all the way through that bread. And we're gonna cook this, when you cook French toast, like especially a thicker piece, do it over medium heat because you want to make sure that that batter cooks through. And if you cook it too hot, it'll cook on the outside really fast and the center will be raw. So, okay, it's been cooking for a couple minutes. Just gonna flip it, cook the other side, and then we'll plate up. Should have a little bit of caramelization. Okay, so the blueberries are cooked down. I kind of broke them apart as best as I could with the spatula. And we got a nice syrup. Taste it, make sure it's sweet enough for your liking. If you find that maybe you made it a little bit too sweet, you can add some lemon to cut that sweetness. You can make a big batch of this and make it ahead of time. It should be like moderately thick. Keep in mind, if you're making it ahead of time and you're gonna cool it, it's gonna get a lot thicker upon cooling. Okay, so French toast is done. Nice thick cut sourdough French toast. Plate it up, however. I'm gonna put some of these blueberries down. And then yeah, so if you don't have a piping bag, like I would maybe put the cream down first, or you could just spoon the cream on after. But I'm just gonna do it this way. Some graham crumbs to obviously tie together the cheesecake vibe. And there you go. Cheesecake, blueberry cheesecake French toast. Can you see that? I cut myself shaving.